Hey, this is Brendan, and going into another drawing session today about perspective. That is, if this video ever makes it into the published phase. I'm using a line tool here. When you do perspective, I'm going to talk about a lot of things like the horizon and a lot of this stuff. People know. If you're learning to draw or interested in drawing, then you probably know this stuff. It's kind of I guess not everybody knows it. But what I'm just using the line tool here. Excuse me, and I drew the horizon back there. That's always a straight horizontal line, and then I have a vanishing point right here. And excuse me, I'm not used to this software. You can see right here, all the lines seem to go right into they vanish right into this area right here, and there's a lot to be discussed with that. So yeah, let me just go ahead and draw this house, and I'll be talking while I do it about different things. The reason I said this might not even get published is because I'm a little burnt out from the holidays. Happy holidays if you are watching this anytime near the actual making of the video. Because yeah, you could be watching it years later and be thinking like, it's not even a holiday. What are you talking about? So I'm just doing this quick. Why is it? Okay, I'm on the line tool, but I'm in erase mode. Okay, so that brings me back to. I just wanted to redo this line here, and it's way too thick. Why is it so thick? About that. Yeah, maybe a little smaller. Okay, and so you can't make it out just yet, but this is going to be a house. If you hold the if you want to make a perfectly like vertical or horizontal line, see how it's snapping from place to place here at certain angles. You do that by holding the shift key, and that works both in this software as well as the GIMP. And because of that, I would assume it also works in like Photoshop or whatever. I'm not sure if it's the same for all of them. So some things here get a little weird. You're going to want to draw the the roof of a house, which goes kind of slants back on an angle. But all you do is, judging by this line here, kind of imagine it'll go back like that. And if it stops right here, then what do? We just pull this one up like that. Well, again, you can use your vanishing point for this and go all the way like this. Wherever that stops, just let it meet it. And there's the the top of your house. Likewise, this part here, there's going to be a gutter, and so what can I do with that? I guess I can erase this part here. Go back into draw mode. The gutter will probably come out a little bit like this. And this is a lot of the part of like details and stuff that you do have to actually, draw an actual house or two. Like sit down with a sketchbook. Why does that always go like that? Sit down with an actual sketchbook and just draw it out, and that will help your visual memory to put into place, or it'll just build your visual memory of what kind of nuts and bolts and pieces you have on a house. So with this one here, because we're looking at what this is let me just draw in real quick, like real rough. This will be like the front door, and you'll have like a window here and a window here. It's just your stereotypical, just a regular American suburban house, and I'll have like vinyl siding and stuff like that. I'm drawing it from the side view. So whereas this line going to go back here, that's debatable, but I do want it to be about on the same angle as this one here, right? Except it's going to be up over here. So I'll kind of just follow that. Yeah, just use my eyes and stuff and get that done. Now, how big is the house? I might have made this gutter a little too big. Another thing I can do before I get into the size and the scale is add another layer here for perspective. So instead of constantly drawing all of these extra lines here and then erasing them, I can draw those extra lines on the that extra layer, and that'll be my perspective layer. Just erase this stuff here. So yeah, I don't understand the erase tool on this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to imagine this is a street. These first couple of lines I drew out here, this might be the street, and in the middle you'd have like your lines going down off into the distance like that. That's your what do you call those lines? Those are street lines. They're like the yellow lines on the street. I'm not sure what the exact name for those is. So now just do, again, if you think about the actual details of a house, it's usually not like just a flat walkway here that goes right into a door. There's usually, even though it's useless, but there's usually like a few steps or something. Why do they have those steps? I don't know. I guess maybe because the house needs to be elevated, but also maybe just to make it look a little stylish, right? So what I'll do here, just going to use my imagination. For the side view of the steps, I don't really need any perspective. It's just going to be steps, right? So go like this, like that. I kind of preferred the way that the GIMP does this. And we're viewing it at such an angle. Maybe just 2 steps is okay. It looks like that's about all I can fit there. Yeah. Okay. And now let's go down to that, because we're viewing it at just such an angle. I wanted to say that these lines, this is a 1-point perspective, and so therefore these vertical and horizontal lines, they can just be perfectly vertical and horizontal in every case where it seems as though they should be. In another type of perspective, which would be 2-point perspective drawing, then that would obviously change. That would be different. So now I'm going to go down to this layer and draw these lines in like this. I'm not a big fan of this line tool, but I think I'll get used to it. I'm just so much more comfortable with the GIMP. Right, so I'm drawing my lines down here, and then I'm going to reduce the opacity on that so it's not, disturbing me too much. I'm going to need these lines, these guidelines, to get me to draw in the rest of the stairs. So I have one for, wherever there's a little crevice, a little bend there, I'm going to need to draw it in. That actually didn't turn out too good, but not too bad. And that's close enough, I think, anyway. So I can go in and try to not necessarily freehand it, but without having to go all the way down to the perspective area there. I can just draw it out like this. This might end up being a weird house, not a beautiful one. But what I'll do with this is, after I do this simple house, it's going to be, I can already tell it's going to have a bad scale on it. Get back into eraser mode here. This line didn't come out too good. Normal mode, eraser mode, normal mode, eraser mode. And then just draw out like a walkway here to what will soon be a sidewalk. So this looks a little weird if you think about it. When you're drawing a house, if you just need to draw it for illustration's sake, you always want to imagine how big a person is. And so at first I was thinking this should be like a 2-story house, right? So this will be, you have windows up top here and then windows down here too. That means a person should probably stand about this tall. You have your arms here and 2 legs like that. So with that being the case, these stairs are like way too big. But yeah, I'm just warming up here, so I'm just going to leave that how it is. Doesn't matter. I wonder if there is a way to draw lines like I did in the GIMP on this software as well. Okay, so I'm going to erase this guy or girl, whatever it was. And so now I'm just going to put in a doorway here. And again, trying to imagine that a person might be, walking in here and actually physically, be able to fit into the door. Yeah, that's okay there. And I'll use this layer again to make quick guidelines. That was wrong. All the way out to the vanishing point, as they call it. And we'll just do this, holding shift down to get that perfect angle. For this this angled line here, I don't want to hold shift down because it has to get on that precise angle, not a controlled angle. I don't know why I left these lines in here. I also don't know why this eraser has to go it has to go over all of these lines like 2 times before it fully erases it, and it even leaves a bit of a ghost behind. I guess that's part of the realistic, is trying to like mimic the realistic way that an eraser actually works. A little bit smaller. Okay. So if this is how big a person would be, and we can imagine how big a window would be, I do wish that I had left more room here to add more windows, but it's going to be a small house, weird house, like that. This could be what they'd call a bay window, which means it'll be basically just a longer, wider window that kind of pops out a little bit. And then over here, it's good I already have some guidelines there, because not every house is exactly the same. You can have a big window here, a little one there. I'll hold down shift, and the place where the door is on the house isn't always perfectly in the middle. It might be a little to the left sometimes, a little to the right, or it might be, you know, all the way over to the right or the left. So for there, that works out not too bad on the first floor. Now the second floor makes more guidelines here, and we can do, again, you can do whatever you want. Also, keep that in mind. You can make crazy circular windows up here. You could do, you know, futuristic, strange artistic design or something. But what I'm going to do is, what am I going to do? I'm not even sure. The width from here to here should be longer than the width from here to here if these windows are the same size. And I do want them to be the same size. What I'm going to do is, this is going to be weird. I'm going to have like 3 windows. I don't know why most house designs you'd expect like 4 windows, because it'd be like 2 for this room, 2 for that room. But, well, maybe this is just a strange house. It's a 3-eyed house. And what do we have? It's an odd numbered windows house. I'm not sure how normal that is. Maybe you have a house just like that and you're, you know, getting insulted as I say these things. I can't help that. So now these guidelines here, I just draw out these windows. Yeah, I really prefer, as a matter of fact, for the next one, I might even go back to the GIMP. I'm not sure if I like this at all, because with the GIMP, you can just hold down shift and make line real quick. This is not giving me that power. This is going to be weird the way, because there's one window that's kind of smaller up here, and then that one down there is really big. It's like a bay window. There's like an oddball window here. But anyway, that's just how the design worked out. And there's nothing wrong with that. Maybe in the middle here there could be something like artistic, some kind of architecture thing. So now if I hide this layer, that perspective layer, you can see we have a pretty good foundation for a strange house with an odd number of windows, but it works, does the job. And you can do all kinds of stuff here, like adding you know, bushes, flowers, vinyl siding. Maybe it's even like an old-fashioned house with wood paneling. You can put a chimney up here, all these different things. And I don't want to do that with this software right now because it's kind of bothering me. Let me see. I'm going to pause for a minute. Let me see if I can find a way to do it the way that I want to do it in this software. If not, maybe we can move it over to the GIMP. And I'll be right back. Okay, so what happened is I can open, how to say this, I was going to see if I could export this over to the GIMP, which would allow me to do that, but I can't. I can open a GIMP file with Krita, but I cannot save a Krita file as a GIMP file, and it just doesn't work. So something along those lines. What I'm going to do is rough it here and just go ahead and why am I not drawing? Oh, that layer is hidden. Okay. So am I drawing? Yeah, I'm drawing. Okay. I'm going to delete everything I have here so far, and I'm just going to draw in some things here. This one is going to go like that, and then we got to get something. You know, it'd be nice. Let me do these first. This is it's going to be the side paneling. And if you go and look at the details of some kind of house with aluminum siding and stuff, you're going to see that there's a corner board that sits on, you know, right around that area there, and then you just have a bunch of these, you know, lines that go like this. I'm not going to waste time being too perfect. I have another idea actually where I might, yeah, because what's going to happen, this is just, you'll see what I mean when I'm done with this. I'm just going to go ahead and draw the lines over top on a different layer and then erase the parts that I don't want. And the reason for that, let me get this line here. Reason for that is because if I do it the other way, then what's going to happen, I've learned this from experience, if I have to draw a line from here to here, then from here to here, and then from here to there, and you see it gets a bit of imperfection. This one is going down a little, up a little, down a little, so we don't want that to happen. It'll be better if I can draw a line straight across from here and then erase out the parts that I don't want. That way I'll get better line mark. So I'm going to start off on this side. And also there's a reason I'm starting over here on the side of the house, because this will give me a good place to see where do I place my guidelines. And this will take a little bit of time. I might end up putting this in fast forward, what they call it, like time lapse. So yeah, because depending on how long this goes. So I guess we'll see in a minute. And so for this part here, you can see that first I have to get this thing in. Yeah. Okay. And now I'm going to use all these as guidelines and just bring it all the way back towards the vanishing point, which is right here. Or I can even start there and come up because I have I have these to reference to, whichever way feels comfortable. And we'll go back in the time lapse until I get this done. Okay, and so since I had that on a different layer, I'm going to go and erase this stuff. This layer is on the top of the other layers. And I guess I can even use this line tool to maybe erase in a straight line like that, yeah. And this is also going to go in just a little bit because we're going to have that, the side, the vertical part, like I said before. I'm not sure what to call it. So I'm just erase all this stuff. I'll do that in a minute so as not to waste your time. And then erase out the windows. And when this is all done, I can just flatten it down. So I might go ahead and time lapse this. Okay, and so now you see we get the really get the feeling of perspective going off into the distance there. I think I have everything pretty much in place as I want it, so I'll just merge this layer down, and then now it's all one big layer that has that on it. I can hide, not sure if it matters, I can hide this perspective layer temporarily, and I want to just go in and clean this up a little bit. See how big this is. Okay, that's about right. And clean this up here a little. I think I made the line a bit thinner than it was before. Yeah, that's better. So we got this part here. And like every house is going to be different. There's totally different things that can go on. You can also do what I did with the aluminum siding here. You can also do for the roof. I'm not sure if I'm going to go that much into detail with this one because it's getting a little boring. I will go ahead and finish it somehow or another. You can do something like this with the windows. There's all different types of stuff you can do. And Yeah, just leave it at that. I'll time lapse this, and we'll see what we have left to talk about with it. There's not really too much. You're drawing straight lines, and you're using a vanishing point, and at the end of the day, you come up with something like this. Well, I guess one thing I should keep talking. Maybe we'll skip the time lapse for this last part, because this the thing with perspective, this is called 1 point perspective, and there's another kind called 2 point perspective, which I'll get into in a minute. However, I'm really against a lot of training and how to draw books and stuff like this, where they seem to so dogmatically, religiously just follow this 1 point or 2 point perspective thing. In fact, it's kind of a cheap trick. It's not really, for me personally, it's not something I'd recommend as a guideline to learn how to draw perspective. I think you really have to just keep looking at things and use your imagination and just try and understand why do things look the way that they do. When you have a house like this and a road in front of it and things, just get smaller as they go off into the distance, well, I mean, that's not really rocket science. It's not self-evident to a lot of people because, we're just humans. We don't know why things look how they do. And it does take a little bit of education, a little bit of reading, unless you want to spend, the rest of your life doing it. But yeah, again, I just don't find it to be rocket science. This type of thing is quite simple. So what you have to do is think more along the lines of something like just realizing why things behave like that, understanding all of the rules that make things like that happen. Here I'm drawing these lines that the street lines, whatever they are. I guess I would pass, or I'd fail a driving test right now for not knowing this. But really, do you need to know what these lines are called? Is that important? Or you just know that whether or not you should cross them, and when is it okay to cross them, when it's not? The only reason I'm doing this here, I mean, I didn't have to do all the street lines and stuff like that. I just want to, make it look pretty clear what you're looking at exactly. Bring this stuff out a little bit. Here in the door, what would you do? Now, this for me would be the fun part. I can start to loosen up and just say, like, draw circles and bushes. And I don't know which side is a doorknob on. I always struggle with this. I don't know why. It's kind of ridiculous. The door to the current place I'm staying at has a handle on the left side. When you go to grab it, it's on the left side of the door. But is that true for all doors? It was true at another house I lived in, and I think it's usually, there's one place, if I was going into the house from the outside, I would find the doorknob on the left side. No, there's one place where it might have been on the right side. I guess it depends on which way you hinge the door, and maybe there is a code. There's some kind of like architectural code that says should swing this way going in and that way going out. But people also don't follow codes all the time either. So, and who's gonna, it's not like the fire marshal's gonna come to your house and tell you that you got to spend $100 to redo your door just because it swings the wrong way, right? Oh, there's a house. Looks like a house. And what would you do for windows? You can just tell they're kind of bland and plain there. Fill them in. I'll just do some, random stuff here. Make it look like they can open, first of all. Is this? No. This one. Okay. One of these days I'll get this software down. I can use this line here as a guideline to see where all the other lines are going. That one, starts just slightly above that one, and it should get just a little bit bigger as it comes closer, so you can eyeball it a little. And what will happen here is this will go back into the house, now go up. Therefore, this would go down like that. And I'm getting a little sketchy on this part, just roughing it, eyeballing it out. There's, and as you can see, the comparison of this, I mean, it's not like drawing things like houses and buildings and architecture, it's actually not that hard. I think within the first 10 minutes here, I had a lot of it already in place. But I don't know. For me, it feels boring. I personally don't like it. Some people prefer to draw this kind of stuff. I like to draw more natural stuff, you know, like creatures and trees, and just I feel like I have a lot more creativity, in even like drawing characters and stuff like that. So I'm going to turn this into a bay window. Or I think it's a bay window. It's just a larger window. I think a bay window actually has to pop out a little. So let's see how it can do that. We have a couple of options here. Do I want it to be just one big pane of glass, or maybe it'll look cooler if I put in a few little panes like this. Let's see if I got the right size here. And that's that. But definitely the precision is kind of what bores me with this type of drawing, just taking the time to make sure everything is exactly where it is. And I think most people would agree it's a little bit more laborious to have to, you know, notice all these details and stuff. Or again, maybe it's like each person is just different. Some people like this, some people like that. You notice on the top here, it was the top edges of the window where I can see this bottom line come in, showing that the window is going back. And on these windows, it was on the bottom part. Well, I'm not really sure how to put that into words, why it's like that right now, but I can tell you just a rule of thumb is that it's because these are above the horizon line and these are below. So, you know, that means if I hold a box on over my head, I'm going to see the bottom of the box, right? If I were to hold, let me see if I can get into drawing mode here. If I was holding a box up here, just say it's just some random, you know, rectangle box, then I'm going to see the bottom of it, like right here. But if there's a box sitting on the ground, like over here, and it's you know, a sketchy box, not a smooth box. So this box over here, I can see the top of the box, and that's the reason why. Here's the bottom, there's the top, because if it's up in the air, then going with your horizon and following those rules, that's why, you know, on this one I'm going to see the top part of the window because that's facing me, and on the bottom windows I'll see the bottom part of the window because that's what's facing me. So that's some other, you know, simple rules of thumb. I'm kind of like, I don't really want to go in and draw in all of these what would you call it, like the shingles on a roof, I believe it's called. But I can fill in some of this here real quickly while I'm thinking about other stuff. Other stuff I'm going to do in future episodes, like this one I wanted to do perspective, and yeah, I think I might go ahead and publish this one because I just want to keep the ball rolling. So I do apologize, this is a little boring of a video, but maybe, you know, some people can learn a thing or two from this one. If you feel like it's not going in a direction that's interesting enough for you, you can just move on to the next video. I am starting to get a couple of subscribers and watchers, and I really do appreciate that. Some other things I'm going to be covering is more advanced perspective. Here is just 1-point perspective. We'll move on to 2-point and some other stuff. And we'll do, you know, I will fill in some of these while I'm just talking anyway. Is that still on? Yeah, okay. And then I want to get into basically what the goal is. I'm trying to get into the full. I can't figure out why I can't draw right now. Where is? Well, it seems to be locked up or something. Oh, I'm not visible. That's why. Okay. And back to draw mode. Okay. Yeah, I want to get into the point where we're drawing full scenes basically. Everything that you would need to draw, you can draw. And if you look at the sequence of the videos, the first couple of videos in my series are rather boring. They're just random this and that. But after a certain point, I think maybe like video 5 or 6, I start to, you know, a trend starts to develop. And that trend is me, you know, starting from the bottom and working my way up of all of this stuff that, you know, all of the methods that I use to draw. And a lot of it is, the part of the reason I like these videos, it's review for me. I watch myself and I improve upon it, and also Just the fact that I can share these things online and maybe somebody will learn something from it, that'd be great too. I've been drawing since I could hold a pencil, although I haven't always had enough time because of school and work and all these other things to really get into it as much as I want to. So recently I've been very happy that I have found the time finally, and so I'm doing it a bit more. That goes there. I could even just, the lines don't all have to be so dark. I could just copy and paste that so I wouldn't have to do it again, which means I would use, which tool? I guess this one will work. Get that. Go copy, paste. Does it work? No, it doesn't. Why did it not work? Select it again. Is this even a selector? No. It's got to be the wrong tool. Okay, select something. See, now it selects, but I didn't even want that. Okay, now I think we got it. Do that. Yeah, there we go. I cut it actually. Oh yeah, and actually, when you paste it like that, it doesn't. It keeps the opacity, so it's full dark. And I'll merge this one with which layer? Yeah, I think it's this one. I'll just merge this one down. Right. Okay, so yeah, that's some of the other stuff we're getting into. And we're in erase mode. Yep, there we go. So I'm not going to get, this will be kind of the fun part here. I'm not going to get too nitpicky with this, but I'm just going to say every other line. See, you have like lines here. Every other line can throw in a little something that makes it look like there's shingles. Basically the same as doing bricks. If you haven't done that before, you can just go dig up a picture of a brick wall and notice how they fall together. So the other thing, they do have to stay on the same angle though, so you gotta be careful with that. The other thing I wanted to do was, yeah, that's even good enough. I mean, I'm not going for like super realistic. The point of this was just to do some kind of perspective. And what I was about to say, the other thing was, oh yeah, the other thing with like what kind of, it's all leading up to something. I'm trying to lead up to being able to draw everything from scratch. So you start off with some of the main things that I've covered already is the drawing characters. I think I did a little bit about drawing animals and stuff. That's also important. Just it basically covers life, right? Like moving animals and people and different things like that. You can also get into cats and dogs, and that helps you to cover the character thing. Just a minute, I'll be right back. And then with characters out of the way, sorry, I just had to get a drink of water. You can, what was the other thing you have to do? Oh yeah, and then you want to be able to build, like houses, cars, technology, things like this, and that everything has perspective. Even when you're drawing, people and characters and animals, they also have perspective to them, but it becomes more of an issue, I guess. Or it just becomes, it gets a bit more complicated when you start getting into technology, because there's just all these, bumps and ridges around everything. Some bushes up there, And this is where I'm just, letting things loosen up a little bit. This half of the image I don't even need, just happens to be there. I could even crop it off like just, about there. We could have some things coming up the top here, such as, how do I do this? Yeah. I do miss some of the things in the GIMP. Some kind of like chimney-like thing up here, where or exhaust. Maybe that's where kitchen exhaust goes out. What are some of the other details? From the windows, you probably will see some stuff on the inside. You might have curtains in here, stuff like that. Just faintly make out some lines in there. And then it's kind of a traditional thing to have, like if you look in cartoons, they always go like this, to represent like glass. And that, I don't know if back in time if glass actually did have lines like that on it, or if there was some reason for it. It just became a drawing tradition. But in modern times, I think what you should expect to see, not that, is you should see some what do you call it, reflections of things, right? So if the sun were over here, or there were some buildings across the street at a certain angle, they would probably be reflecting off the glass. So you can just do some random lines in there like that. But those reflections would also have some things, they would be slightly transparent. So if someone were standing there, you could also see them. I'm not going to draw someone standing there right now. That'd be creepy. That'd be funny though. And I can always zoom in and do things like, what if no door is perfect, just lined to the stairs? There might be something here, there. Grass could have weeds in it and things popping out. This part here, have grass coming out like that. Same thing over here. And since the grass is going to go over the part of this walkway that we see a little bit, what you'd get there is if you can go in with an eraser and just, show how it covers up over that walkway. You wouldn't actually see this edge of the walkway very much. Mostly you just see grass right here, like this. Yep. And over here you can see this edge of the walkway clearly because the grass is behind it. Kind of like that. Same thing would happen up here. Might be a little bit more rough. And you can just, you have to spend all day making a straight line like that. You can just, do a little bit here, a little bit there, just to give the feeling. And also up here, don't forget, we're dealing with perspective, so it should be getting bigger as it comes closer to you. Random parts here. Cover this edge up. Erase a little bit out. You have some dips and things. Tree in the background. You could spend all day. Just I recently did a couple of really detailed whole neighborhoods for a comic book, and that turned out pretty good. I think it was nice. I had a couple of houses. You had trees in the backyard, swimming pool, and I just spent the whole day on it because it's a comic book page. It's supposed to be a beautiful work of art. People are going to pay for it, so that's what you got to do. Take your time and make out all those details. A street normally, especially in a suburban street, would never actually go all the way back into like Never Never Land here. What would normally happen is you'd have something like this. It would stop here. There'd be like an intersection, right? How do I get back here? No. Fumbling with software. When I'm working, I do this a little faster as I use stuff I'm more familiar with. Yeah. So that sidewalk would be there. I'll do another line. Goes back here. That's way too thick. Okay. So now that you know that the sidewalk is there right here, you'd have the edge of the sidewalk. And let's go back to our perspective layer, which is this one. And we can draw up the edge of the sidewalk. That was wrong. Kind of like that. Maybe. I'm not sure. What do you think? There should even be more parts to the sidewalk. You have lines that come out here like this, and then there's like a little part here, and then there's a gutter. So I'm not going to worry about it too much for now. I'll just use that as a rough guideline. Whoops. There's one more reason there. That's an example of why I would prefer the GIMP in this situation. Because with the GIMP, I could just tap the page once there and then go all the way down here, hold the shift key down and make that line. But with this one, I have to visibly be looking at the part that I'm working on. Let me see, if that one's here, this one's here, it should be getting bigger as you get closer, so the distance between them should also be getting bigger, kind of like that. Then what would normally happen, this is what I was saying before, there's kind of there's an extra part that goes like right in here. It's the thin part, like that. So this would go here and here, and that's like that. And then you have the, what do you call this? I don't know. I'm not sure if there's a name for everything, but you have these lines here. What happens is when they make the sidewalk, they make it in segments, right? So I'm not sure if there's a reason for that. I guess it's like in case a tree grows around there, or if there's emergency, it's not all just one long sidewalk area. They can take out the segments and allow for water to pass through and all that kind of stuff. So there you have a bit of a sidewalk next to the house. And one last thing I'll do, you never really want to show the horizon 100% unless you're on looking at the ocean. So just to finish this off, for starters, let me use a crop tool here and crop off the area that is actually being used. I'm not going to use that left hand side. Let's go right about here. Could you even pull it up a little? Nah. Yeah, I'll use that. And how do I finalize it? Isn't it the enter key? Yeah, there we go. So it looks a little weird how I cropped it off like that, but this is, just for study anyway. Because what is the composition? What is the actual thing that we're supposed to be looking at? If we're supposed to be looking at the house, then why did we crop it off all this? This road goes here. I'll just have this road swing around like that. I'll leave a little bit of horizon here and there. And here we go. And then what we'll have is random stuff back here. Maybe it's trees, bushes, this and that, and it's in the distance, so it doesn't even have to be too clear. And I have this go off that way. Right. Good. So that looks a lot more natural like that. You can even have back here, if I could lower the opacity, it'd be nice. Might have some other buildings back here or something. Just like that, off in the distance. So it looks a bit more natural. So you usually don't have just some random house out in the middle of nowhere. And that's about that. So you see we used just 1 point perspective and ended up making, let me get rid of this, yeah, that layer there. It's a little rough around the edges, but you see how just by having that 1 point, that vanishing point in the distance, I can judge where all of the other lines should go. And here we come up with a somewhat realistic looking house. It's not very detail orientated, and I just threw windows in random places. It's not all that well architectured. Is architectured a word? It's not very well designed, let's put it that way. But just for basics, I think it looks pretty cool. Maybe these lines that I made here are a little too dark. It's almost giving you that kind of optical illusion thing where it's like making me dizzy to look at all these lines so close like that. But that's why I keep drawing and learn something every time. Next time I would probably make those lines a little bit more faint and bring out the bushes and the grass a bit more in the foreground here. Stuff like that. Add a tree, make it look a bit more natural. You can even have some birds. Maybe add some birds flying up in here. You never have a perfectly clear sky. There's got to be something up there, a bird or a cloud or something like this, right? If the cloud's off like that. Yep. So, yeah, the whole point was just by using that vanishing point, you can get the feeling of space and depth. And I'll do another one. I'm not sure if it's going to be in this video. As a matter of fact, I'm pretty sure it's not going to be. But in the next one, we'll get more advanced perspective tools, maybe 2-point perspective. And as I was saying, breaking out of the rules, forgetting about 1 point or 2 point, and that's getting a little more random, because that's when you really get into the nitty gritty of it. Not everything in the world that we live in is based on 1 or 2 point perspective. You have to know where the horizon is and where it can be for different objects. And when you start twisting boxes and shapes around on like random angles, then the horizon suddenly seems like it's not the horizon anymore. So yeah, I'll try and cover how to cope with all that stuff. It's not easy, but I'll go into more detail. And then as time goes on in the next few episodes, we'll tie all this stuff together. We'll have the characters with the backgrounds and the cars and the technologies and all that stuff to make full-fledged scenes. We might do some action scenes or some regular, drama scenes with people just sitting around doing stuff, and just whatever comes up. If you guys have any requests, please let me know in the comments or contact me however you want. Please, if you watch this far, do like and subscribe. There's more to come, and I apologize if this one is a little bit boring, but we'll get more interesting next time. Have a good day. Thank you.